All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. With just over 2 weeks to go before teams have to make a decision as to which players will be designated under the franchise tag in the National Football League, the New York Giants have some decision making to do. The Giants would love to bring back both running back Saquon Barkley and quarterback Daniel Jones into the fold, but that might not be a guarantee. The Giants are not expected to receive hometown discounts from either Barkley or Jones, who are both free agents. And a curveball might have just been thrown into the mix with Jones switching agents while also reportedly seeking more money than initially expected. According to Pro Football Talks Mike Florio, there is a possibility that Jones may want as much as $45 million per year. Now, I don't foresee a scenario where the Giants would pay Jones like the elite quarterbacks in the NFL because there is still an incomplete on his resume. Now, Jones is coming off of his best season of his short career, and we saw him complete more than 67% of his passes last season while also helping the Giants reach the divisional round of the playoffs. But you have to ask yourself, how much of that was Jones, or how much of it was the coaching that he got last year from first year head coach Brian Dayball and offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. Now, if Jones is truly seeking to get paid in that $45 million range per season, this would certainly lead the Giants to more than likely placing the franchise tag on him. And if the Giants were to place the franchise tag on Jones, would it also signal the end of Barkley's time with the Giants? Now, the Giants are willing to pay Barkley, but like Jones, they're not willing to break the bank to do it. Now, for the first time since Barkley's rookie season in 2018, he was able to appear in all 16 games for New York last season while gaining a career best 1,312 yards on the ground. Now, the caveat is Barkley is a leader as well as being the heart and soul of the Giants. And that, to me, further complicates things for a team that does not want to overpay for a ball carrier like Barkley, who has mileage and injuries on his body. Now, Giants general manager Joe Shane, along with head coach Brian Dayball, did not draft either Barkley or Jones, which means that they are not attached at the hip with either player. Now, in regards to Daniel Jones, you have to ask yourself, would the Giants simply be bidding against themselves if they broke the bank to keep him? And honestly, I think they would, because you got to sit back and think about it. You look at the average starting salaries for starting quarterbacks around the NFL, and that lower tier is around that $30 million range. I could see the Giants coming up between 30 to 35, maybe pushing it to 36 or 37 for Jones. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how many teams around the NFL are willing to give Daniel Jones $45 million a year to play quarterback? There's not that many. So at the end of the day, if the Giants were to go over whatever mark that they have set for Jones, they would definitely be bidding against themselves. Now, on the flip side for Saquon Barkley, what is the market for him? You also got Josh Jacobs out there, the Raiders running back. So it's going to be very interesting. But I would see some teams, more willing to take on Saquon Barkley, especially maybe front load the contract while he's still in the prime of his career. But even with that said, Saquon is coming off of a season where he had 295 carries, and overall he had 352 touches. He had 1,650 yards on the ground for his second best season of his career since his rookie campaign, when he went over 2,000 total yards from scrimmage. But nonetheless, you're talking about a player that has been hit by the injury bug throughout his brief NFL career. So, would you be willing to chance that if you're the Giants? We got to wait and see. Um, the Giants, you got to ask yourselves, could they weather the storm with their fan base if either Barkley or Jones were to leave town? And the question is, you might not have a choice. And for me, it's one of those where sometimes you tend to over leverage yourself. And this is what I think that Daniel Jones is doing more than Saquon Barkley. I look at it like this. It would not surprise me to see the Giants simply franchise tag Daniel Jones, and maybe not in the first round because they do pick late, but they have additional mid round picks. Maybe the Giants go there and find their insurance buffer, if you will, at quarterback. And maybe they say, you know what, this is a guy we want, this is a guy we can develop and, go forward if we know that they're going to be financial constraints coming down the road with one Daniel Jones. The same can be said with Saquon Barkley because I do see the Giants paying him, excuse me. But it's a scenario at some point, if you're New York, you still want to have more depth at the running back position. Saquon, he's a guy, he's only 25 years old, but again, how many running backs reach the age of 30 in the National Football League and are still able to produce at a quality level? The Giants definitely want to protect themselves. And if you go back to Joe Shane's track record, he's even as the assistant GM with the Buffalo Bills, it was all about depth at every position. And that's one thing that has helped Buffalo consistently be a playoff team. Also, he was good with the salary cap. So, he's going to try to find a way to manage this and do what's best for the Giants. And again, the Giants do have a scenario where they have cap space heading into this off season, but just because you have the cap space does not mean that you want to be foolish with it as well. This is going to be a very interesting time for the Giants because, again, if you go back to when Joe Shane was brought in by the Giants co-owners, most notably John Mara and Steve Tisch, but from the John Mara standpoint, John Mara said, "Hey, he was going to stay out of the way," and it's a scenario where we know that John Mara has an affection for Daniel Jones. He feels like, the Giants, they never really did right by him. And I think a lot of that changed this past season. And of course, Saquon Barkley, a hometown guy, theoretically, born in the Bronx, grew up in Pennsylvania. But at the end of the day, if you're John Mara and you truly said that you're going to stay out of the way of Joe Shane and allow him to do his job, this is what you have to do. You got to let him make whatever best decision that he feels for the Giants going forward. It might not be the prettiest, it might not be the most popular, but at the end of the day, this is why you pay Joe Shane to do his job. So at the end of the day, I still do believe that there is a possibility of both Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones being on the Giants roster next season. One of them is definitely going to get franchised. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But of course, if they franchise one, they can't franchise both. So, how much does Saquon want to stay with the Giants? How much does Daniel Jones want to stay with the Giants? I think both of them do. But at the end of the day, it's a business, and they're going to go to more than likely to whichever team gives them the best offer. And I think the same thing can be said for the Giants. It's a business. They want Saquon Barkley back. They want Daniel Jones back. But at the end of the day, they have to do what's best for them. So at the end of the day, this is all about the lead up to free agency. Teams are going to be going back and forth with offers. Agents are going to be coming with counter offers as far as what they feel that their client is worth. And of course, in the scenario right now, the Giants, have the ability to talk to Barkley. They have the ability to talk to Jones while other teams don't. So at the end of the day, let's see what happens. It's going to be a classic, scenario of let's sit back and wait and see what happens. But again, I really feel that one of them is going to be franchised. Who it's going to be, we don't know. We just got to sit back and simply say, wait and see. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you are on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.